guys a little bit. I like to ask some questions and make you think. Here's my question tonight that I'm going to start out with, and then I'm going to tell you a story. So the question is, how many times should you forgive someone who does something against you? Okay? Think about it. You don't have to shout it out. But this is a problem that maybe a lot of us have. Is like, okay, if I forgive too much, then they're just going to take advantage of me. If I don't forgive because they did something really bad, is that protecting myself? And so I met a guy this last week, and he's from the U.S. And he comes from a town that's very famous in America for the civil rights movement. He's from Selma, Alabama. And 2 years ago, okay, so in Selma, Alabama, 2 years ago, he was there living. And this was just after, it was in the midst of COVID, shutting things down. And in America, George Floyd was murdered by a police officer. And so there was a lot of tension in America during that time. And this guy, he was a white guy, and he was going for a run in Selma, Alabama, which is a lot of tension for many, many years between the black people and the white people there. And so as he's running across the street, and a guy pulls up in a van and comes out and starts shooting at him. And he shoots him 2 times, and it goes into his leg, at the bottom part of his leg, and into the top part of his leg. He falls to the ground. This guy takes off in his van. And he's bleeding out on the side of the road, and 2 other guys come up. The guy that shot him was a black guy. This is the white guy. 2 other guys come up, one's black, one's white. And the white guy, he said, just a second, I have a tourniquet in my car. A tourniquet is one of those things that you put around a wound to keep it from bleeding out. He said 2 days ago, somebody said, hey, you might need this, put this in your car. And he said, then today they're coming by and he sees him get shot and he's laying on the ground, so they put the tourniquet on. The other guy was a black guy, and he comes and he just starts cradling his head. He starts like singing to him and praying for him as they're waiting for the ambulance. The police show up and they said, how long until the ambulance gets here? They said, it's still 10 minutes away. And so these 2 guys, they said, let's throw him in the car and we'll take him to the hospital ourselves. Because the ambulance was going to take too long, and because he's bleeding out, it's hit major arteries, he only has a few minutes to live. So the cops escort him to the hospital. They get him there. He has like 5 different surgeries to try to repair all the damage in his legs. During this time, the guy who shot him, he has some mental problems, and his mom ends up being friends with the guy's wife's mom. They work together at the bank. So she comes, she finds out about this whole thing. The whole city is super tense because it could be a kind of an ethnic, racial riot. It's like right on the brink. And so this one mom, the black mom, comes and she goes and she talks to the white mom. She said, we forgive you. She said, we love you and we love your son. If you talk to your son, tell him that we forgive him and we love him. So the media is there, everybody's there and waiting for something to happen. And right away it's like, no, we love him so much. And this guy, he goes through his surgeries, and he gets up and he has 3 little daughters. A 5-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 1-year-old. And his 5-year-old comes up to him and he says, Daddy, do you hate that guy who shot you? He says, no, I don't hate him. And Sarah said, but he shot you. He tried to kill you. I don't want him to do that. And he said, no. Because Jesus told this story. He said, this guy came up to him and he said, how many times should I forgive someone who sins against me? Is 7 times enough? Jesus said, no, 70 times 7. He said there's 2 guys, and one guy owed another a lot of money, millions of dollars. And this guy said, if you can't pay me back, you're going to have to go to jail. I'm going to take all your property. I'm going to take your family. They're going to sell them as slaves if you don't pay me back. And this guy falls to his knees and he begs them and he says, give me more time and I'll pay you back. And the master, the ruler, says, you know what? All's forgiven. Your debt's totally canceled. And he lets him go. So that guy, feeling so good about being free from his debt, he goes out and he finds some guy that owes him $100. And he starts beating on him. He beats him up. He said, you owe me this money. You never paid me back. So everybody knows about what happened. So they go and tell the master. They go and tell the big boss. So do you see what that guy did? You forgave him this huge debt, and now he's going and beating up the guy that owes him this much. And that's the thing. He said to his daughter, he said, you know what? It's because of my sin, because the things that I did, that Jesus had to go to the cross. He forgave me, so I have to forgive somebody that sinned against me. And this was a crazy story because all over town, people were just waiting for somebody to strike back, to go after revenge. But instead, he chose to forgive. Thank you very much.